Hi, I'm Nacho, and I wish I could be there with you to really celebrate one of the greatest people I have ever had the pleasure to meet, which is our dear friend Val. Celebrate his life, tell stories, and laugh, because that's what he would have wanted us to do. But I cannot be there. So what I would like to do instead is just tell a couple of stories of him that I think it really helped explain who he was. He was a very complex person. It's very difficult to define him in a few words, but I think the best thing to do is to do it through the stories that we had together. I met Val in 2007, like some of you, in a bar. It was called MPOs in the Central West End. I was new in town. I didn't know anybody, didn't have a car, didn't have friends. And there in the middle of the bar with his friends, there was this cool dude with a I don't care attitude just dancing there. And I started talking to one of his friends, and he introduced me to the team. And little I know that that was the beginning of one of the greatest friendships that I had the pleasure to have. He really took me under his wing, and to this day I don't really know why you meet somebody random in a bar and you become such close friends. I guess he saw something in me, and that's one of the greatest assets and virtues that Val had. I mean, he was able to see something in people at random and develop a friendship, develop something really strong out of nothing. He didn't do it with everybody, and we all know that he could be quite cranky, and he was always polite, but he can make sure that you knew whether he likes you or not. But with me, he became like my big brother, and we had stories. We lived like a family. And even if I left St. Louis a few years ago, and we only used to talk every once in a while, every time we hung out, we picked up the phone. It was like I never left, and that's one of the things that I really appreciated about him. This ability that he had to maintain a relationship, to be there, and to feel like he will do anything for you. I mean, honestly, if you ever committed a crime, a good friend will not take the police. Val was much more than a good friend. Val will come with a shovel and a perfectly good alibi to tell the police, which probably wouldn't work because that will involve ninja robots or aliens or Star Wars and lightsabers and machine guns. But still, he will have an airtight alibi. Now, one story I would like to tell, because I think it tells something about Val. I mean, we all know that he was one of the most loyal people we've seen. He was loyal to a pulp, and we all have experience on that. But something also that I think defines Val was his uncanny ability to find the odd, the weird, and the bizarre everywhere he goes. You could go out that night 100 times and had a boring night with nothing really worth remembering. But chances are, if you go out with Val, there will be something that you will remember forever. I mean, the guy was like a magnet for the odd and the bizarre. So here's one story that I don't know if many of you know, but I'm sure he will laugh reminding him. So I left St. Louis in 2012. I moved to Switzerland with my wife, with Carol. And a few months later, in winter, I convinced him to take a trip and come skiing in the Alps. So he decided to come one day before and spend the night by his own in Geneva, in Switzerland. That was a bit odd, but well, we all know that Val liked his independence. So I said, okay, no problem. I'll pick you up the next morning. So I go the next morning to the hotel. I pick him up, and he tells me, man, you wouldn't believe the night I have. It was really weird. It was the weirdest night that you can imagine. I said, okay, well, that's probably the beginning of a great story, so please do tell. So it turns out that Val picked up the hotel, and of all places, he picked it up in the middle of the Red District in Geneva. Because believe it or not, even if Geneva is one of the most boring towns in the world, it has a Red District. Val's hotel was right in the middle of it. But he didn't know that. So he goes out in the evening, jet lag, goes to a bar, has a drink, and there's nobody there. So he starts talking to the owner of the bar, having a few beers. Then, people start coming. there were lots of women with very short dresses and mini skirts. He was curious, but he was talking to the guy, and the guy said, "Hey, you're a cool dude. I'm finishing here at 1 p.m. at 1 a.m. Why don't you come and hang out with me?" I said, "Okay, sure, no problem. New in town, had nothing to do. Let's go." So he goes out with this guy and with three ladies, let's say of rather loose morale, shall we say, and they go there drinking with other pimps and all the usual animals that you can imagine in a red district, having a laugh, having drinks there. And then they decided to go to another place. So Val is talking to this guy, to the owner, let's call him Bob. And Bob says, "Look, I need to make a quick stop. It's a business issue. Do you mind?" He's like, No, sure, no problem." So they go to one corner, that corner of the street in downtown Geneva, met with a guy, and it's a shakeup. The guy starts, holding the other guy from his chest, threatening him, because allegedly there was some money that was not coming involved. So, and one first night in Geneva, in Switzerland, and Val made himself accessory to extortion right on the spot, which is obviously what would happen to any of us if we were there, right? But that was not the end of it. So after that, Val found it a bit odd, but look, first time in Switzerland, who knew? Swiss people are weird anyway. So the guy he met invites him to his house. Like, "Well, we're going to have a little party." So they go to his apartment and they're partying until like 4 in the morning. Now, I don't know if you've ever been to Switzerland, but in Switzerland, after 10, you cannot make any noise. They will call the police. But he is in the middle of a Swiss city having a party with music, with drinks, and all kinds of substances that you can imagine right there. And Val's having a good time. And then suddenly, somebody knocks on the door. And this guy that he met, this pimp, this mafioso, starts really freaking out and telling everybody, "Okay, shut the music down, everybody quiet, this is serious, please stop." So he opens the door of the apartment, and there's this old dude in probably his late 60s, early 70s, short, tiny, thin, and next to him a bombshell, this blonde bombshell, like in her 20s, mini skirt, all this. So whatever you can imagine from a movie, right there. Turns out that this guy was one of the city councilmen, and he came to collect. Now, Val never told me what he was collecting or for what, but given the crowd and the substances, you can imagine how many laws and felonies he was associated with in one single night in Geneva. And it always makes me laugh, because that is Val, right? I've been in Geneva 13 years, nothing ever remotely close to that ever happened to me. The guy is less than 24 hours and all these crazy stories starts coming. And that's actually how I like to remember him, right? Like, he was really a hedonist. He loved life. He made everybody's life better. Yes, he had his moments. Sometimes he could be a bit difficult, but it was part of his charm and part of the reason that I love him, and I love him like a brother. And he will forever be in my heart, and a big piece of who I am was thanks to meeting Val. And I wanted to share this with you. Thank you, everybody. Hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.